The first duty of government is to protect our rights.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government in what we were tasked to do.
In the Idaho Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, we have a right to life, we have a right to defend life.
This legislation is centered on meeting the needs of Idaho families.
And we have no way to maintain control over the spending of this program, and it will be a disaster for this state long term.
But we have a whole gamut of kids whose parents would like to do something for them and they cannot.
The courts have long held that our ability to transfer title on real property benefits society as a whole.
This is simply about putting it out of reach of young, innocent, vulnerable children and making our libraries and schools a safe place for them to go.
And I am increasingly frustrated that we cannot stop ourselves from drinking at the public trough.
He's sounding the alarm. He's saying if we don't address these issues, we potentially might have greater problems moving forward.
I feel like we're back to an unappointed board that gets to decide who is essential and who is non-essential.
If I was looking at a business and I was looking at these figures, there would be heads rolling because this is unsustainable.
We're supposed to be bottom-up government. We're supposed to be representing my citizens' ideas and your citizens' ideas, and we're supposed to be discussing them and debating them to come to a conclusion.
And for me, it's about a couple things. It's about food security, it's about national security, and it's about preserving American exceptionalism.
The First Amendment and our freedom of religion, freedom of speech are our first liberties. They are so important. We don't have the rest without them.
Okay, welcome. Idaho Signal is on the air. It is 11:30 in the south and 10:30 all points north of Riggins, Idaho. I am Matt Edwards. Welcome to Idaho Signal. It's January 17, 2024, and we have a special edition today. We have spent the first week and a half or so at the beginning of this legislative session with lawmakers heading to their committees, their respective committees, and presenting RSs, presenting draft legislation, and getting them printed. And I wanted to take time today to go through the bills that are out there for you to read, for you to analyze, for you to contact your legislators and inform them of your opinion and where you stand, and if you support them on this. We're not going to do any really deep dives into each one of these bills, but I kind of want to go through and highlight a large portion of them that are coming out of the Senate and that are coming out of the House. So without further ado, why don't we get started on that? We'll start with the Senate side first. Senator Dan Foreman was there this week in committees and rolled out a bunch of bills. So a lot of these are his. And the first one is actually a resolution. It's a Senate concurrent resolution number 110. And we've got it right here. This will appoint a committee to undertake a study of how the Idaho government responded to the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is just a resolution, hoping to form a committee that will look at what happened in Idaho across our government agencies. There's a lot of gaslighting go on. So after this committee, if this should pass, I hope there's a committee on the gaslighting that's happening, because it lays out here in this concurrent resolution, it lays out specifically what happened and why we need to study the things that are going on, because I'm just going to read a couple of the things that are in here. It says, and this is full of whereases, so they make statements. Whereas the governor of Idaho ordered houses of worship to be closed. So if you were told you couldn't go to church because of the governor's order, that happened. Whereas the mayor of Boise ordered all indoor dining and drinking to stop at all restaurants and bars, that happened. Where the state of Idaho received billions of federal dollars under the American Rescue Plan Act, That happened, where the governor of Idaho issued a, quote, stay-at-home order for all non-essential Idahoans. So this thing is packed full with whereases of what happened during the pandemic. And so this is Senate Concurrent Resolution number 110. And that will be going before committee, before the Senate, and hopefully over to the House for their concurrence as well. So that is just one. That's just the first one. Okay, let's see what else is up there for you to look at. By the way, scrolling down below here, as I see, is are phone numbers of some, not all, but some of the House committees and Senate committees. And so as we go through these, contact the committees, contact the legislative office, get connected to your legislator, and let them know what you think of these bills. So moving right along here, Senate Bill 1216. This is about issuing driver's license and revoking driver's license if they are issued under one of the 14 categories where folks are to not be issued a driver's license. Apparently, the state of Idaho is issuing driver's license either accidentally, mistakenly, whatever, to people who fall under certain categories where they should not be receiving a license. So this will instruct the Department of Transportation to revoke or cancel the license, which right now they just have the option to do that. They don't actually have to do that. So if there are categories where people are getting driver's license that shouldn't, we should be not allowing them to have them, I guess. That's the spirit of that one. Okay. We're going to move on quickly here. Senate Bill 1218. This one is going to make all contributions, all political contributions, be reported, even if they're under $50. Currently, if any political action committee or candidate receives a donation that's under $50, they're not required to attach a name to the amount of money that they collected. This would make it so that any dollar amount, even that under $50, we would know exactly who was donating to that. So that was brought by Senator Herndon, and so you can contact him and learn more. You can also go to the Bill Center on the legislative website. The Bill Center will list all of the bills that are coming through. You can see it there on the screen right now. The first column is the House bills, and you'll see the bill number, you'll see a brief description, and where in the process it is at. And that's important for you to know, because sometimes bills will they'll stall out, or it'll be introduced and presented one day, and then a month later it's still sitting in the same spot. And if that's a bill you're concerned about, that's when you call the phone number below, get in touch with that committee, and say, when are you going to listen to that bill? I will put out a caveat, however, that sometimes bills get reintroduced because there's been some conversations happening with the bill sponsor and people who are concerned about the bill, and maybe they'll go in and tweak some language and reintroduce it again later. That did happen there with bill number, the first bill number up there on the House bill. That did happen with that, where Representative Julian Young introduced that first bill on preborn child language and then reintroduced it again with a new RS yesterday. So that'll be posted up there soon. So, and then right below the House bills, of course, is the some concurrent resolutions that the House may make, but then it jumps over to the Senate. So you can follow the Senate side there. And if you click on that number, you'll get the bill's webpage, which will then, and I'm sorry for speeding through this, but this will give you the option to look at the bill text, the actual law that would eventually get passed, and how it would read, and then of course the statement of purpose, which is what I have here, which gives you a quick overview of what the bill intends to do, what it does, and if there's if it impacts our budget and if it costs money to implement this particular new piece of legislation. So, all right, moving along. The Senate Bill 1221. This is called the School Library Material Care Act, and the way I read this is I think this is an answer to the library bill that's gotten so much attention that was presented by Representative Jaron Crane. This one deals specifically with schools, and within that, as government always does, it looks like they want to create a committee or a board of people to review any materials that fall into the school library. And the only recourse, if that material is in there and does not, and school libraries may not comply or may not even set up a board like this, if they're not compliant, the school library will be closed to all students until they achieve compliance. So this is an interesting bill. We'll see where this goes. Next on the list here, Senate Bill 1222. Okay, this legislation asks manufacturers of smartphones and tablets to have the pornography filters on as a default, instead of them being shipped out and to parents or to customers where the filters are off. They want these shipped to make sure that the default position for these pornography filters is on. That way, if they do fall into the hands of children, apparently they'll already be at least have a first firewall of protection against this. This is an interesting bill. So it's on the Senate side. Senator Kevin Cook is presenting this, and I know this is an answer to a bill that passed or that didn't pass last year, that wanted to make cell phone manufacturers responsible for keeping children away from harmful materials. So this is just simply asking them to turn on the default function of the pornography filters. Okay, you guys are doing awesome back there, keeping up with me in the control center. Senate Bill 1226. This just updates the Idaho Code to say, yeah, Space Force is another part of our military. So, great, Space Force will now be codified in Idaho law. Moving right along. Oh, this one here, I actually printed the bill. This was an interesting bill. This is Senate Bill 1227. This is a health rights of patients and other persons. So last year, Senator Foreman introduced a bill that would try and just get rid of every single thing that happened with COVID, all the bad things that happened during the pandemic. So this one deals more with just specifically on the health rights of Idaho patients, and basically saying that the state or political subdivision of the state cannot force or do certain things on Idahoans. And also, it looks like there might be some stuff in here that prevents them from pushing or publicly advertising certain things, which shall not be mentioned at the moment. So that is Senate Bill 1227. Okay, that was a statement of purpose. Flying right along here, Senate Bill 1228. This is a campus carry bill. This is campus carry, folks. This is a Second Amendment. This is an important bill. This is a Second Amendment issue. This will allow the carrying of concealed weapons at public colleges and universities by students, by staff. Public colleges and universities are public property, and right now we are violating people's rights to be safe. And I specifically think of women in this situation. We hear often from a lot of different sources that 1 in 5 women are raped on college campuses, and maybe this is an answer to help prevent that by allowing students to carry on campus. So this is Senate Bill 1228. Again, Senator Foreman brings this bill up. He's out of Moscow, which obviously has a university there. So there will be some particular interest in that one going forward. So, all right, we're coming up on the end of the Senate bills here that we wanted to cover. This Senator Foreman also brings in a bill that will remove incest or rape as a defense for criminal abortion. This one has come up several times since the overturning of Roe versus Wade, so I'm sure that will spark a lot of debate. Idaho Code to authorize to authorize an importer of wine to ship directly to a retailer. This is Senate Bill 1230. This authorizes wine importers to be able to ship their product directly to a store and not have to go through third parties. Okay, some of these were just flying through. Senate Bill 1231, which will make any person with an outstanding fine, any person who has an outstanding fine for violating their hunting or fishing or trapping license, they will not be allowed to either renew or go hunting and fishing legally until they settle their fines. So this is a basic. This is just telling you got to do that. So, all right, interesting. Senate Bill 1232. This will enhance the legal rights of parents and guardians when it comes to their children and any child protection investigations that may be going at the time. So those are the Senate bills that are, most of them, I think we might have gone through all of them, but those are the Senate bills that are currently in process right now. This morning, and I think we might have this clip. Give me a thumbs up if we do have this clip. This morning, Senator Herndon presented a bill in committee, and let's play a little bit of that from this morning.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Senator Scott Herndon from District 1, up at the top of the state, and before you today is RS 30889. This pertains to the term lengths of some of our elected officials, in this case, library district trustees. There are two sections of code that are being impacted by this legislation. Current terms for library district trustees around the state for public library districts are 6-year terms, and they are staggered, so there are 5 members on the board, and we stagger the terms in 2 groups. They're in off-year elections, so we just had the elections in 2023. The next election cycle is 2025. And what the legislation does, it contemplates 2 scenarios. 1, we create new library districts, and 2, we have our existing library districts, which is why you're going to see 2 sections of code impacted. And what it does is change the term lengths, keeps them staggered. It's basically going to make it look more like a school board. So you're going to have 3 trustees. All the trustees will have 4-year terms instead of 6. And you'll have 3 trustees on one cycle and the other 2 trustees on another cycle. So the impact to the first section of code 3327
that's the meat of
for public library districts.
That's the meat of the
I'm Senator Scott.
The bill right there. Yeah, let's cut that. That's the meat of the bill right there. We are changing. He wants to change the term lengths of library trustees from 6 to 4, while still keeping them staggered. So that happened this morning. The RS got a print. It was printed, so it'll move on to the next stage, and that's what happens in the very first process of a bill. The legislator will present what's called an RS. It's a routing slip number, is what is assigned to the bill, because it's not a bill yet. It's not a piece of legislation. It's just an idea. I mean, it has all the language that they're going to be debating, but for technical purposes, it's called an RS. They submit it to the committee. The committee can ask questions if they want, but generally speaking, they will print the bill, which means it will then end up on the website that we showed you. It'll get assigned an actual bill number, and then it'll be returned to committee, where it will be presented in full, and public comment is when is allowed, and then it moves on from there. So that's what happened in the Senate. Let's jump over to the House. The first bill presented in the House was House Bill 382, which I mentioned earlier. Representative... oh, no, I'm sorry. That wasn't it. I apologize. 382. This is an important bill. 382 will outlaw and criminalize the creation or use, or whatever you want to call it, of artificial intelligence-generated child pornography. So taking a stance against artificial intelligence... and the abilities for it to create some really horrible things. So going to criminalize that. Very good. Representative Bruce Skog was the one who brought that there. House Bill 384 is the... Oh, that's the big one. I kept getting that number incorrect. I was like 385, 384, and I'm probably never going to remember it, but it's 384. This is the library bill. We talked a lot about that this week, so you can go watch our great interview with Representative Jaron Crane. This is getting a lot of support. You can see that the pro tem, Chuck Winder, is signed on to this. The Speaker of the House, Mike Moyle, is signed on to this. They usually don't sign on to a bill unless they know it's gonna sail through. So this bill so far seems to be the one that's going to go through when it comes to protecting children from graphic materials in the library. Okay, House Bill 386 is a bill that wants to update the charter school laws here in Idaho. Charter schools have been... or at least the Idaho legislature passed the charter school law back in 1998. There are 74 charter schools across Idaho, and there's been several amendments, but nothing substantial has been introduced to update the statutes regarding charter schools. So again, take a look at the bill, read through it. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more analysis on this. I'm not trying to analyze every single bill here. I just want you to know what is out there so that you can do some more research. But we will have folks on, legislators on, to talk about these bills once they come across. House Bill 387, this will increase the domestic violence penalty. Right now, it appears that the jail sentence for domestic violence can be up to 6 months, and this will extend that penalty up to a year. So with that, a judge has the option to sentence more than 6 months and up to a year if they so choose. That's House Bill 387. Okay, House Bill 388. Currently, there is no minimum age for criminal prosecution, apparently. So this legislation changes the juvenile offender definition to disallow criminal prosecution of minors who are under the age of 10, unless it's the crime of first or second degree murder. But outside of that, looks like they want to disallow criminal prosecution of minors under 10. So we'll see how that flies with everyone. House Bill 389 updates the fire code. This will actually put into Idaho code the violations of the fire code, which I guess are currently in rules rather than in statute. And apparently this will allow for fire and law enforcement personnel to streamline their process, I guess. This might be of particular interest to the folks in the north. I don't know. So we may have to get some reaction from folks over at North Idaho College. Okay. House Bill 391. This legislation makes it a misdemeanor to disclose explicit synthetic media. This is the first time I heard the term synthetic media. We looked it up, and it literally just is artificial intelligence. So it's not specifically... it's a general term for synthetic media. So, but this will make it a misdemeanor to use explicit synthetic media with the intent to annoy, terrify, threaten, intimidate, harass. So it's not just about like pornography or anything, but it looks like they want to make it a penalty to disclose explicit synthetic media for the purpose of obtaining a thing of value. So maybe you're blackmailing somebody with a piece of material that you created under AI. So I don't know. This is fascinating. I'm so interested to hear the debates on these. This is going to be fascinating. Okay. Here we printed out a full bill. This is House Bill 392. It's going to be in the Health and Welfare Committee. And remember, right down below here, we're scrolling all of the numbers of the committee. So this one's out of the Health and Welfare Committee. This is being brought forth by Representative Jason Gallagher. House Bill 392. This will limit the powers and the duties of the district boards of health. So I believe across Idaho there are 4 or 7. I can't remember. Can't keep it all straight. But there are districts of health. So I know up here in our area we have that Panhandle Health District, and there's going to be 3 or 4 several health districts throughout Idaho. And this is going to do is it's going to eliminate the broader mandate of these boards to do all things for the preservation and protection of public health. It will change the word all. It will strike the word all and make it necessary and reasonable. So it looks like they're trying to limit the scope of what these health districts were implementing and recommending that government officials do during the pandemic. There's a lot of response to this pandemic stuff, and again, there's a lot of gaslighting going on, a lot of forgetful people, but there are those who were deeply, deeply affected by this and very concerned about what may happen in the future that want to make sure we put these things into practice so that we're not limiting our rights. So the interesting bill here, House Bill 392. Go ahead and take a look at that. Going through the Health and Welfare Committee. Okay, bingo. House Bill 391. 395. This will further define electioneering messages for tax commission correspondence. We actually had Representative Heather Scott on yesterday to discuss this bill. Basically, she's saying, when the government sent out refund checks, it was signed by the governor. But the governor doesn't sign checks in Idaho, so the only reason, allegedly, that they would say was to attach Governor Little's name to the check, so that way when you see the check, you go, "Oh, Governor Little gave me this money," and that feels as though it has electioneering type messaging and consequences on it. So they want to extend this further so that they're not allowing any type of whether it's a nonprofit or other names attached to something that's being sent to potential voters or folks in Idaho. Okay, House Bill 396. We're almost at the end here, folks. House Bill 396. This is stopped. We talked about this yesterday too. This is prohibiting government agencies and their subdivisions from mandating the wearing of masks. It's simple. Again, and I said this yesterday, and I can't stress this enough. We all know what a mask mandate is. Whatever that is, whatever language you need to write to figure out how we can say that a mayor of a city cannot order the citizens to wear a mask without fear of penalty from the police department, issuing fines or arresting you or denying you your civil liberties. Whatever language you need to write to stop that from happening again, write it. I don't want to hear about a bill that comes through and then somebody out there says, well, what if a police officer needs to force a prisoner to wear a mask because they have tuberculosis? That's not a mayor ordering. That's completely different. That's not a mayor ordering the city to wear a mask because of a flu. 396. I said before, this is not a show where I want to give my opinion, but I reserve the right to offer it at any time. But I guess this particular episode is going to be the exception to that rule. House Bill 397. This changes the registry for immunization of Idaho's children. The Department of Health and Welfare keeps a registry of children who are immunized for all various different types of things. And so this bill would make it so that it is an opt-in rather than an opt-out. I guess currently, if you don't want to be part of that or you don't want to be on this registry, that you would have to choose an opt-out, fill out an opt-out form to be taken off. And this will just simply swap that and make it an opt-in. So that's being presented by Representative Blanksma, and she's also the majority leader, I think. So I think that's what they call her. All right, this last bill here is the House Bill 399. This authorizes the Board of Medicine to collect and review data concerning maternal mortality. So they're just trying to streamline the reporting of things in Idaho so that legislators and policymakers and agencies, I guess, can have a better track of what's going on. Okay. Wow. That was a lot. And again, I don't think I covered every single bill, but we went through a lot. You can see right down below the legislative committee phone numbers. The House State Affairs, where a lot of these, the House State Affairs was very active. Some of these committees haven't even met yet, or they're meeting and they're doing other things. But this is what's going on, folks. These are the bills that are coming through. We'll probably do another update like this in several weeks to kind of give you a sense of where these bills are, perhaps, and some new ones that are coming down the pike. Because I've heard of some interesting ideas that are on their way, and there will be no shortage of opinions to be thrown around and such. So, short show today. No guests. Y'all just had me. Apologies for that. But if you would like to support Idaho Signal, please head over to idahosignal.com and throw us a bone or two. Get in touch with us. signal@citizensallianceidaho.org. And we'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. If we can just keep this thing going. We'll keep this train going. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
This bill, I think, it puts a stake in the ground that says we have a sovereign right to protect what's ours.